If I were to describe this in one word, it would be one: explosive. Hi, this is Sellavin Adams making my latest chapter of Naruto Shippuden episode 322, Madara Uchiha. This continues off as the episode last week after Naruto's arrival. I didn't make a review of it so last week because everyone knew what was going to happen. But this episode, by far, is the greatest episode moment in the history of Naruto that we've ever seen. It starts off as what happened last week. Madara shows up, talking to Kabuto, aka Second Tsuchikage Mew. As it continues, you see Madara going down to the battlefield. Everyone's wondering why is he here and who's the fake Madara. But that's just water behind the. There's water behind the bridge now as things get epic. First, it starts off. You see there's three basic ninjutsu, three basic arts to fighting as a ninja in Naruto. Taijutsu, which is close combat, Genjutsu, which is illusionary technique, and finally ninjutsu, which is spells and magic, which you use with your hand where you create hand signs. That's how it works. But when Madara showed up, he just used nothing but his bare hands. He was what you call the second strongest human in Naruto history. He pulverized him, knocking him down like bowling pins, and he's the ball, knocking him all down. He's not just a ball, he's just the arm attached to the ball, throwing it at full force. Just knocking them down. He takes them all down one by one at a time. They're literally ants going up against a giant tree that they can't touch. All of them knocked down one at a time. You can't even count how many people he did. Of course you could, but one man against an entire army? This guy's a monster. And you can't touch him. Things get even worse. Then Naruto and his group finally step in. Temari takes him out with her wind style, with her fan. And even Naruto and Gaara starts to go in a little bit, but it didn't work. It doesn't work at all on this guy. How can you fight someone like this? That's the tricky question, isn't it? That's the part that's hardest the most, because Madara was the second strongest human in their world, and he just proved it. He's more than that now that he's been reanimated. Naruto goes up against him using his giant Rasengan. It didn't work. He uses Susanoo to block it. Tsuchikage is in shock because he forgot he had this kind of power. Then Gaara remembers how he went up against Sasuke. Even using the sand, Tsuchikage helps a little bit make the sand lighter. It does work. It pulls him out of the Susanoo. Naruto hits him with Rasen Shuriken, and then guess what happens next? That's right. He awakens the Rinnegan. He has the eyes of the six paths. One fragment, the power of a god, is in his hands. How can you fight someone who has this kind of power? Question. That's the tricky part again, isn't it? Madara continues to devastate him, showing them he's talking to. He shows up. He's just toying with them, like they're all toys, and in his hands. Like this guy is a god compared to these people. He makes it even worse for them. How can you fight someone who has the power of a god? Now, Madara shows his skills in every form and way possible. He summons the Susanoo, and he summons a giant meteor to strike them all down. The power of a god is in this man's hands. The Sage's hands is not something that you can take lightly. I mean, after all, we've seen this with Nagato Pain, and now we got Madara Uchiha. These are what we expected for a long time. Those of you who are straight anime viewers who watch this have been waiting for this moment, and those of you who are not anime viewers who watched the manga that premiered 2 years ago and expected this, and those of you who continue to read the manga and knows what happened next, then you know what's happened next. If I were to give this episode a rating, I would give it a 5 out of 5 because we've waited for this moment forever. Madara is just overwhelming and explosive, and you can't stop him. Think about it. The only one who could strong enough to stop him was Hashirama, the first Hokage, and he was the strongest human of his time, and Madara was the only one who could fight him because he was the second strongest. And he may have lost to Hashirama, but he did gain a piece of his power at the point, which is one of the reasons why he could perform the Rinnegan and use the wood style. And then there's all kinds of ninjutsu you can do, like the fire destruction that he just performed, that's the reason. The Uchiha's main jutsu is the fire style. The fan on their back, it's the symbol of fanning the flames. It's their mark. So when Madara used that fireball, this moment was what you expected. I mean, they edited this episode though. I mean, they changed it a little bit. I mean, from the manga version, he used the fireball first, then he started using his fist. That wasn't it. They just showed his fist. They just showed his fist first, then he used the fireball. That's how explosive this is. Just showing nothing but brute force. Even Madara tells Kabuto, don't pretend that you didn't make this power, because you didn't. This power is mine. That's what you expect from this. Pure power in its purest form, unchanged and unbound by anyone. No one can change this, because no one has seen this kind of level of power before. But that's what you expect from a person who bears the Rinnegan. Power in ways that no human has ever seen. That's what you expect from this. Alright, this is Sellavin. Alright, Sellavin Adams. Comment, rate, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this video. It's episode 322 of Naruto Shippuden. You can watch it online at narutoget.com. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Signing off.